Welcome to Fine Margins, powered by the Hammer Betting Network, where we take you through the weekend slate of English soccer fixtures, looking for the best bets for you to make. I am your host, Jacob Gramegna, and I'm joined, as always, by the soccer betting expert here, Paul MacDonald. How are you doing today, Paul?
I'm very well, Jacob. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm happy that we can finally get an official episode going. So this will be our third time recording an episode, unofficial episode 2 weeks ago before the launch of the Hammer in the official sense. And then last week, unfortunately, with the cancellation or postponement rather of the Premier League fixtures, we could not put out that episode. But let's hope to get some winners here today with Paul. Any thoughts on the fixtures in general before we get into the specific matches we want to talk about?
Yeah, there was supposed to be a couple of barnstorming fixtures this weekend. Had the calendar held up and Her Majesty the Queen not died last week. There's policing issues in the UK at the moment around the funeral, which means that Chelsea versus Liverpool is cancelled, which would have been a great match, and also Manchester United versus Leeds is also cancelled, and the third game is Brighton versus Crystal Palace, which it's not a derby as such in England, but they have got a rivalry that goes back quite a long time, so there was worry about policing for that one too. So we've lost those three games, which makes it a little bit harder to find value in the others, but we'll give it our best shot.
Yeah, I can speak on the necessity for police, especially at a Leeds versus Man United fixture. So
yes.
I think it was the wise choice to put that one off for this weekend and put it to a time where they can get more policing involved. But with that, let's get into the first fixture here. We're going to get started with a banker. We're also going to have a bet builder, and we're going to finish on a long shot. And we're going to go into our first fixture here, which is Nottingham Forest against Fulham, where we have our banker. And Paul, what do you like for this one?
So if you're going to be placing any bets this weekend on the Premier League fixtures, just be aware, obviously, we have the three cancellations, but the kick-off times for the other games have been moved around quite a lot just to accommodate television. So the Forest game's actually taking place on Friday night now. And in the episode last week, which no one will ever see, we spoke a lot about Forest and how they've signed 22 new players this summer. Now, in a lot of areas of the media, this has been seen as a real statement of intent by Forest, a real strength to show that they want to stay in the Premier League, which it may very well be over the long term, but it's given manager Steve Cooper quite a headache in the short term because he's going to have to accommodate all of these new players into the team. And already you can see that some of the guys that he signed earlier in the summer are being shuffled out for guys that he's bought more recently. So Cooper definitely has something to work on there tactically with his team. The one thing that he has got in his favour for this one is obviously because the games were cancelled last week, he's had an extra week on the training pitch to prepare and get his team ready for this match. And from a Forest perspective, it's a bit early to be talking about relegation and must-win matches, but you really should be looking at games against other promoted sides down there as ones where you have to rack up the 3 points if you've got any chance of staying in the league. So I think Forest will have earmarked this one as a game that they'll look to win. But instead of looking at the win-draw-loss market, we're going to look at both teams to score for this one. And the rationale is this. Forest are not good defensively, either at home or on the road. They've conceded 14 goals in 6 matches, and those 14 goals are completely backed up and justified by the expected goals figure of 12.6, which basically means that they've conceded over 2 expected goals in every match anyway. So the goals that they are conceding are high-quality chances, and they're conceding the amount of goals you would largely expect them to concede. So with that in mind, we're looking at them potentially conceding a goal to a Fulham team who have actually been a bit of a surprise package so far. Alexander Mitrovic has been superb. They gave Tottenham an excellent game in their last match out, and also did the same with Arsenal the week before that. They also held Liverpool to a draw on the opening day of the season. So I think a lot of people might have expected Fulham to struggle, but they have actually looked pretty good so far. And every single match, bar one this season, with Fulham has had both teams score in it. That's 5 out of 6. And with Mitrovic on the form that he's in, I would fully expect Fulham to pick up a goal in this one. So both teams to score at a price of minus 140. It's not going to make you rich, but I really can't see any other outcome here other than both teams landing in this one.
Yeah, for Nottingham Forest, what I have noticed is they look great going forward. One player in particular I've been impressed with is Nico Williams. They've just signed from Liverpool at right wing back rather. Gets forward really well, creates chances, and there's goals within those strikers for sure. And as you mentioned with Fulham, the way Mitrovic has been banging in goals, Fulham a little bit of a leaky defense as well. Two teams who want to play progressive football. They're going to want to do it against each other as well. And I think there's going to be some goals in this fixture. So we'll put that one in at at those odds. Now let's move on to the second fixture, and we're actually going to dip to the lower division. We're going to go to the EFL Championship here, where we've got Preston North End against Sheffield United. And Paul, you see an opportunity for a bet builder in this fixture.
Yeah, so just some of these games this weekend in the Premier League are really trappy. Like, they're very difficult to call either way. Something like Aston Villa versus Southampton, Everton versus West Ham, really tough to call how these ones are going to pan out, because the sides on their day can be good, but they can also equally be bad, and they're just not worth a risk there. So we're going to go down to the Championship and have a look at a team who have broken stats this season, and that is Preston. If I read you through, Jacob, some of Preston's scores this season, it reads more like binary code than it does a score sheet. Preston this season have gone 0-0, 0-0, 1-0, 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, 1-0, 0-1, 1-1. It's crazy stuff. The second of last game on that list against Birmingham, I think it was, they lost 1-0 at home, and had they kept a clean sheet in that match, they would have broken an English league record for the most consecutive clean sheets ever to start a season. So they just missed out on a record that goes back, I think, about 100 years. It's safe to say that it doesn't take a genius to work out that I'm going to go for a goals angle in this one as a key part of it. There has been no match this season that Preston have played which has went over 2.5 goals, as that record shows. And they take on a Sheffield United side who are arguably one of the form teams in the country right now, unbeaten in their last 7, have won 5 out of those 7 matches, and just look at an all-round good bet at the moment to be in the promotion shake-up. That being said, 4 out of 5 matches that Sheffield United have played away from home this season have also gone under 2.5 goals. So they are more prolific at home than they are away. So with Preston just being such a good defensive side, we don't want to take Sheffield United directly on the nose for this one. We're going to take them on a double chance, which means if the game is a draw or Sheffield United win, the bet is a winner. And if we pair that with under 2.5 goals in the match, we actually get an odds against selection of plus 120, which I think is a really good bet for a team that's in form against a team that just does not concede goals or score them. So I'm really, really keen to get on board on this one. And that's Sheffield United or draw, double chance. Build it with under 2.5 goals, and you've got a nice little bet builder in the Championship on Saturday.
Okay, that is so interesting. I'm not a frequent watcher of the Championship. I don't know if you are, but just out of curiosity, I would love to hear maybe just a little bit of your opinion as to why you think Preston, it can't be coincidence at this point. There's too many fixtures here. They've had the EFL Cup fixtures where they've gone over that amount, but in the league, how are they keeping teams off the score sheet, and how are they themselves not getting on the score sheet very often?
It's pretty bizarre. Like their XG actually is decent. They should have scored, I think, 5 or 6 more goals than their actual total at the moment. So they are creating chances, and they have got some good attacking players there. They've got Troy Parrott, who's on loan from Tottenham, who's expected, big things are expected of him. But for whatever reason, the ball's just not going in the net for them at the moment. And at least from their perspective, they are keeping the opposition out at the other end. But you're right. This is why the odds for this fixture is so interesting to me, because it's when does a trend start to become like something that extends longer than that, and over a space of a period where it's not just something that's happening in a small moment. 8 games is a big sample size, and I know we always want to talk about sample sizes on our stats and talk about how it's important to have as big a sample size as possible to draw from. 8 games isn't the biggest sample size, but it's not the smallest either. So we have to look at this as a situation where Preston are keeping the door shut at the back, but that seems to be the foundation in which they're going to be set up this season. And Sheffield United, not a great attacking team away from home either. Under 2.5 goals looks to me to be a very good play here.
Okay, I like what I see. So with that, let's go to our long shot play here. Something that, it's not necessarily one that you're going to see win every week, but as Paul said last week, you can put your feet up, maybe crack a beer for this one, and just enjoy that. And we're going to go to Tottenham, who have been high-flying in the Premier League, not so much midweek in the Champions League against Sporting, but have good form in the Premier League against the opposite, Leicester, the worst team in the Premier League so far, still searching for their first win against an unbeaten Spurs team. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, so Antonio Conte will not be a happy man after that Sporting performance in midweek.
I agree.
I think he'll demand instant gratification from his squad this weekend in the form of a victory. And I think, fortunately for them, Leicester is a team to do it against. Last time out, Leicester lost 5-2 at Brighton. And in all honesty, it could have been maybe 9 or 10 with the chances that Brighton missed in that match. Alexis McAllister got one of the all-time greatest ever chopped off goals for offside in the second half. But beyond that, they created lots more chances too. And it's just a worrying trend for Leicester at the moment. They've conceded 11 goals in 3 matches on the road. That's just a shocking record.
Yeah.
Brendan Rodgers is always seen as a progressive coach and one that clubs see as a guy who can maybe build a project around. But one of the big problems that he had it at Celtic as well, was defending and defending set pieces in particular is just not something that he and his coaching team are particularly good at. And they always like to play football on the front foot and they always like to attack the opposition, but they are just leaving themselves way too open defensively. So with that in mind, let's just look at some goal angles in this match that we can push to some odds that we can build up a bet builder and just sit and crack a beer and enjoy the match. So I've looked at Tottenham to win the match here. I've looked at over 3 goals. I've looked at both teams to score in the match. And I'm also going to bolt on Harry Kane at any time. Tottenham are a pretty sure bet at home against teams like this, particularly ones that are going to come out and attack them. And it allows the likes of Kulusevski and Son and Kane in particular to counter-attack in the opposite direction. That's the way that Conte's teams work so well. And the way that Leicester will set up, the same way that they do in every match, on the front foot, with Maddison, with Vardy, with Harvey Barnes. They're always going to attack teams. And that's just the way that the Rodgers will always set it up. So we can cover off over 3 goals. We can cover off both teams to score and boost the odds a little bit. I do think Spurs will win the match. And then Harry Kane anytime. Harry Kane hasn't scored in his last 2 Champions League matches against Marseille and against Sporting in midweek, despite hitting 8 shots in those games. It's not like Harry Kane to go a run of 3 matches without scoring. And in his last 2 home matches for Tottenham, at home to Wolves and at home to Fulham, Harry got on the score sheet. He hits the penalties. He hits a whole load of shots. He's averaging 5 shots per game at the moment. So I think if we add on Harry Kane to score anytime, we get a nice little round plus 450 on the bet builder to sit and enjoy the match with.
Okay, I like what I see there. As far as Leicester goes, very interesting to see them fall off like this. I think you could maybe put a little bit on the uncertainty around the squad all throughout the transfer window. The maybe Fofana situation wasn't the best thing for Leicester to be dealing with at the time, but Rodgers is always somebody that's going to want to play progressive. I'm just wondering if maybe the squad isn't there to do it this season. The defense isn't there to bail out, the progressive attacking so many players going forward consistently. I'm just wondering if the Leicester ownership will maybe figure out that, okay, Rodgers maybe won't be the guy here with this squad, bring in somebody who's going to not concede as many goals in that situation. So we'll see how that happens with Leicester and how it happens with Tottenham here, but I think there are going to be some goals in this fixture, especially for the Tottenham side of things. But that will wrap it up for the picks. Paul, if you could, please just recap all 3 official plays that we're going to lock in for this one.
Okay, so we're going banker, both teams to score in Nottingham Forest versus Fulham. We're going for a Championship bet builder, which is under 2.5 goals and Sheffield United or draw double chance in the Preston v Sheffield United match. And then finally, on the long shot, we have Tottenham to win, over 3 goals, both teams to score, and Harry Kane to score anytime. And that pays out plus 450 on the bet builder for the long shot.
Okay, fantastic. We're going to put those in, see how they play out this weekend. I will say in our first unofficial episode, Paul did sweep the slate, go perfect on his bets. That'll be unofficial. We got to make it official for this one. We'll see. We'll see how all of these play out this weekend, and also Friday evening as this one comes out on Friday. So tonight, if you're watching this on the release. So thank you so much to Paul for taking part in this. We'll be back every single Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern time to give you the best bets for the soccer slate on the weekend. We may have some other great stuff coming in the future, but for now, catch us Friday, whether you want to listen on podcast form, any podcast platform, or if you want to watch on YouTube to see our nice face as well, talk about these matches. So thank you so much to Paul, and we'll see you again next week for another video for Fine Margins.